to the WODdoc Project 365, episode 553. Today what we're doing is taking a break from our, we were in the middle of a muscle-up progression program, but I had the awesome opportunity to introduce to you Jill Miller. She is the creator of Yoga Tune-Up, and did I say that right?
Yeah.
I was at Yoga Tune-Up and the founder, author of the role model. I always mess up all those introduction things, but I figured she'd correct me either way. So when I've been talking back and forth with Jill for some time now, and we just finally got to catch up.
Yeah, we're like Instagram buddies. I've been following him for I don't know, like a year and a half or something.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
And so finally made it out to New York, and we just ended up in the what do you call this? The
Hilton Dungeon.
The Hilton Dungeon, right?
It's a closet. It's so small. This gym.
And we were conversing back and forth about what things that we could do, and she's really well known for breathing would you call it mechanics or?
Yeah, breathing mechanics, breathing function, breathing sensing.
Exactly. And it turns out that I thought that I knew some things about that, but there's blind spots in everyone, and that's the greatest things about getting a couple people that are like-minded, that want to learn together and everything like that. It's because they all come from different backgrounds, and we can learn things from each other that we didn't even know that we didn't know. And that's the coolest thing, is when you learn something that you didn't even know you didn't know. That's one of the coolest things. So what we're gonna do is she's gonna run us through all the things that I didn't know.
I just want to. One of the things that I think that everybody can improve upon is breath mechanics, and then there's so many different aspects to breath mechanics. And one thing that we were talking about is diaphragm movement, but you also need to be able to have rib movement. You need to be able to activate and utilize the intercostal muscles. So the intercostals are the muscles that help to move your ribs apart and bring them back together again, and that happens in conjunction with the motion of the diaphragm. The diaphragm is like a parachute-shaped muscle that lines the inside of your lower 6 ribs, and when you take a really deep belly breath, your belly will pooch out, your waist will pooch out, your lower back will swell because of that downward pressure of the diaphragm. So that's something that a lot of people are familiar with. You don't want that to happen while you're lifting heavy. You actually want to be able to brace.
Yeah.
Right? So you want to limit the downward motion of the diaphragm, but you want the ribs to have a massive amount of movement, not massive, but an appropriate amount of movement, so that you can breathe well and have the breath support for your lifts and whatnot. But what I noticed when we did a little check-in with you is that you weren't able to differentiate well between the abdominal region and the thoracic region.
Right.
And they should be really good brother-sisters. They should be lovers.
Yeah, exactly. So the mechanics that I was confused on, and I think that, well, I have to say that, of course, if I was confused on it, many others must be, right? But, no, is that so I was always taught that it was large diaphragmatic breaths, lots of movement in the lower abdomen region, but this was kind of locked down. And one of the things that we talked about is that's not correct at all, right?
It's a fluid system. Your bones are fluid, your soft tissues are fluid, and so you want to connect to that fluidity actually to be able to get strong and tight.
Yeah.
So the check-in is just simply this, like lay on your back, and in what we call in Yoga Tune-Up half corpse pose or constructive rest position. And I just said to Tim, do an abdominal thoracic breath, and he was like, what? What is that? What is that?
You mean you want an abdominal one or a thoracic one?
Right. So an abdominal thoracic breath is a wave of breath. So first you exhale, and then you inhale about 40 or about 60% of your breath capacity downward. So your gut expands, distends, and then the same inhale transfers north into the rib cage, and you want to feel it expand without elevating your shoulders. So when the shoulders elevate like this, that's a compensatory and accessory spillover into the stress region of breathing, the clavicular region. So you want to do exhale, I guess you've already exhaled, but there's abdominal excursion and then thoracic excursion followed by exhalation. And what I'm seeing is he could have a much, you could have a much fluffier rib cage. You could have a much more expanded.
We're working so hard to be not fluffy.
Yeah.
Especially around the holidays.
You gotta be fluffy. So I'm going to show you what that looks like just in upright sitting on me. But you should stay down, because part of what he's experiencing right now is his body weight pressure against the floor. And as he's doing abdominal thoracic breathing, he hopefully can build a sensory map of what the feedback of the floor feels like against his back, and that's really important, especially when we recheck. Okay. So Abdominal thoracic breathing and upright looks like this.
And the biggest thing
So
that
I don't
noticed
know if that was even visible.
if you like just twist just like a little bit more,
Mhm.
because the biggest thing that I noticed was the rib cage movement here, right? So if you
Mhm.
could see this, and I was always under the impression that was like rib flaring, and
Well, if
the
you can
difference
see
between
the back
rib
of my ribs is mobilizing in the same rate of
Mhm.
expansion as the front. So it's the whole cage doing this. It's not me. I'm still in neutral spine, so I'm not doing.
Yes, that's
I'm
the
not
rib
doing
flare.
that.
So I think that's an important thing to make. So that's a
to
rib flare
maintain your
versus,
axis, right? Versus
Yes.
I'll move my hands here so you can see.
and we can see how the ribs are now coming outwards this way, not this tipping, this anterior pelvic tilting that
Right.
happened with it.
And so it's really important, again, being able to differentiate rib movement from lower back movement is like this takes some practice. And so one of the ways that we practice in Yoga Tune Up in the role model is we'll use the Courgeous ball. So the Courgeous
Okay.
ball gives you amazing feedback on your rib cage. So roll face down, stick this on your sternum.
Mm-hmm.
So the sternum is the solid bony plate that's shaped like kind of a long spade that is the central attachment for your ribs. And go ahead and bring your face down to your hands or whatever you can do. Can you just, okay, got it. So, so there's a relative, so your rib cage, so what I want you to do is breathe into the ball and try to deform the ball. So now the ball is going to give your chest direct feedback. And while you're doing this, you also want to envision, this is a visualization, your anterior ribs molding around that rubber. So the sternum is an insertion for these, was it 10 of your, oh my gosh, is it 10 of your ribs? Help me out.
The last two.
Last two don't. So 10 of your ribs insert into the sternum, and that's a cartilage relationship. That means it's relatively soft. It's not like goopy soft, but there should be spring there. And what I have found with, especially the strength people that I work with, is they have very little yield here. And so putting pressure here for a few minutes can be just the thing that helps to restore some of that mobility, that natural mobility in the rib cage. And this is a way to improve your perception of the ribs, rib movement, and differentiation of the rib cage from the lower back. How you feeling there?
I feel like I'm getting a better proprioceptive awareness. I don't know if I'm actually am. I'm making sure that my shoulders don't really hike.
Yeah, you don't need to do any tension work here. All you need to do is literally suck air, and then let your body collapse over the ball.
Now, is there a procedure where I go through my nose or my mouth? Does it matter?
Well, nose breathing is preferred, but if you have difficulty with nose breathing, then do mouth breathing. Okay, then, so I'm speeding this through, like you would do this probably for about 5 minutes. Then roll onto your right side, so the ball is going to be on the side of your right ribs. Totally on your side. Yeah, and you can, post your legs so that you don't fall over. And then you can either bring your left arm overhead. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, just totally taking for granted that you can bow like a rainbow over my ball. Let me find some support for you.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. Here's this big thing over here. Can your
Right.
head rest on this?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So, and I want you to be completely lateral.
Is it like if I come down like this? Like.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Oh,
there
okay,
you
yeah,
go.
we're good
there
like
you
that.
go. Do you need this?
No, I think like what I was doing, I was posting myself with my arm.
Yeah,
So-
no, please don't. There we go. Good.
Yeah, look
So,
at, see how
Thank
mobile
you
I
very
am?
much. Great. So now,
Like a jellyfish.
same thing. I want you to like obnoxiously breathe, but not in a stressful way, into the ball underneath your right side. And I'm just going to give you light pressure here. So I'm barely leaning into him, but this is so that both sides of the ribs get feedback. So if you have a friend, you can have them lean in. If you don't have a friend, if you have no friends.
This is exactly what I would do every Friday night. Hey guys, come on over, push on my ribs.
Yeah, is that you can use your own hand, this top hand, to put pressure. So somehow find a way exactly to pressure your ribs like that. And so then this would be a really nice way to stimulate.
Now the head just like rests however it would, right?
Yeah, I mean, because you have such wide shoulders and relatively short
I'm
neck,
so
I would
broad.
put a little pillow. I have like really narrow shoulders and a long neck, so my head comfortably rests on the floor. So then position 3 for this is I want you to bring your right knee forward.
I had to think
You have to
about
figure out which one's the
that.
right
I was
knee.
like, which one's my right knee?
And the alignment of this, we can get super persnickety, but I'm not going to do that. And then you'll transition so that your right chest is on the Corgus ball. And so this would be a rotation version of this. So now we're doing the twisted rib cage, the twisted diaphragm, the twisted intercostals. And again, he just continues to try to deform the ball with his breath. And I'm giving him really light pressure. Each exhale, the pneumatic pressure within the lungs is reduced, and so you should be able to take up the slack and improve spinal rotation, as well as the lengthening, the length-tension relationship in those miserably tight intercostals. Ain't that the truth?
I don't know if when you're talking about tight, my shoulders almost touching the ground.
How nice is that? Right?
I'm afraid to see what the other
This is our
ones do.
second round with this that we tried to
Don't
pull
tell our
earlier.
secrets.
I know. Then lay on your back. Lay back on your back. And I mean, we only rotated and did one side, but actually you should have an improvement on both
I feel
sides.
a huge, like, just like the looseness, like without even doing anything at all, like it almost feels like I think that there's less weight. And what I do notice is that as I twist more, I can feel that almost like saran wrap. Does that, if that makes sense at all?
Fascial
As
tissues.
the fascial
Most
tension right
definitely.
there. That it almost makes it harder for me to breathe. I get more feedback, like when I am pushing against the ball, I can feel not only the pressure against the ball, but the pressure against the entire sides of
Absolutely.
the whole torso.
That's the thing is the feedback will show you your internal tensions, their interrelational tensions.
Mhm.
You can't really get that without doing something like this, without bringing some type of prop in, and also dropping all sympathetic
Right,
activations.
right.
So this is a very parasympathetic thing. Now try to do your abdominal thoracic breath.
Oh gosh.
So you exhale, and without tension, you breathe belly, so about 60% of breath there. And then the other 40% goes north. And so your perception of breathing and or the actual motion of breathing, I mean, I see larger range of motion in your rib breath right now. I don't know what your perception is of that.
I'm just hoping I don't hike my shoulders.
You're not.
That's good then. That's good. So then I mean I feel like this expansion feels a lot better.
Yeah.
Which it's hard to explain unless people actually feel it themselves. I actually feel like the right side of my rib cage
Is moving
flares
more.
out better than
Fully.
the left side. Yeah.
And I mean, you were not going to be able to see it on camera. I can see with my eyes, but there's more anterior motion as well on the right side than on the left. And where we take this, and you'll get tuned up in some of the breath training I do, I have a course called the Breath and Bliss Immersion, and the Core Immersion, is then we will take this into sort of next level of diaphragm isolation. So if you can see my diaphragm isolation right now. I'll do it after I exhale. I'll move my arms out of the way.
I can't do that.
So we do different diaphragm isolation exercises, and then you can really feel the tie-in to all the layers of myofascias from inside out.
Right.
And then if you want to go really crazy, we do abdominal spinning, but that's not.
That's the advanced course.
Abdominal
we're not
churning
there
is
yet.
it's no necesito for your health. But what is necessary for your health is a better improved breath mechanics, and that is actually foundational spinal mechanics. So
Right.
if you can't seem to rectify anterior tilt, overextension in the lumbar spine, you may want to look north at the behavior of tensions in your thoracic cage, and you can quickly unglue that with some really easy breathing exercises.
We often forget about
Positional
the
breathing
ability to
exercises.
control a tissue and how important it is, because and how important it is just to be able to use it, right? So if we can't control these tissues at all, how do we ever imagine that we can support our bodies with it?
Totally.
If I couldn't turn on my bicep, I couldn't expect to bring my arm up to feed myself.
Right.
But we don't have control of any of. A lot of us don't have the proper control of our torso region, but yet we expect to get that stabilization factor, and we can't. And that's sometimes I think Craig Liebenson does a really good job of talking about
this definitely, most definitely
about riggings of a ship and how when we could put wind in the sail, how it makes us very stable, right? But a lot of us walk around with no wind in the sail or the ability to even put the riggings up.
Right.
So it leaves
and
our
to me,
back
the big crime is the lack of being able to sense any of these things.
Yes.
Because actually,
yes.
being able to sense these things is a very rich embodied experience, and it's part of your relaxation highway. And why would you want to be cut off from that ability?
So the goals are being able to sense it, being able to control it, because that's going to allow us to then be able to use it, right? And we went over 3 positions. Make sure you check those back out. Make sure you follow along with Jill Miller. She has that course coming back to New York City, right? Do you know?
Yeah, so I'm doing the Breath and Bliss immersion. I'm doing that in February in Los Angeles. We're working on bringing the same course to New York City in April. That should definitely be happening. And some of the moves that you saw me experiment with Tim, I recently did on a downloadable workshop on Yoga International. So it's
awesome.
a core integration workshop on deconstructing the diaphragm. And so that's like, I don't know, it's like $19 or something, but it's
awesome.
an hour and a half of just exercise after exercise.
Well, it definitely would be worth it, because just 15 minutes of this has kind of changed the way that I look at it. It's something that I'm going to be doing and definitely putting into my repertoire. Jill, thank you so much.
So
I really
to
appreciate everything.
Meet you.
Yeah. Make sure you check her out. Instagram, all over regular channels. What's your website?
YogaTuneUp.com is my website. Yoga Tune Up on Instagram, Yoga Tune Up on Twitter, Facebook. I'm Jill Miller. Check out my book, The Role Model.
Pretty much just Google Yoga Tune Up or Role Model. We got you there.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Guys, until tomorrow, we are optimizing function to optimize performance.